episode 3 of the Healthy Living Podcast. This week I got the big fella Dominic Wilson.
What's going on, everybody?
All right, so for you guys that don't know, just let everyone know what you do. Give a little background.
So basically about a year ago now, I started a company called YoungCap. And basically how that came to be was I always knew I wanted to start a company. I just didn't know really what I wanted to start. And I figured what's something that I can go to find or to help guide me through that process. So I was like, you know what? That's not really out there. So I'll go ahead and build the platform to help other young entrepreneurs get started who want to get started early and get that early jump into financial freedom instead of waiting later on for the idea to come. So YoungCap is short for Young Capitalist, building young entrepreneurs, helping. What I do is I have a similar process. I'll bring on guests, different entrepreneurs, successful capitalists and higher ups of companies, find out their story and how they got to be where they are today. And they'll share it with my audience of young entrepreneurs. And eventually, it's still building right now, but there's a lot of people who come on there and share their stories coming from nothing. Just stories all around. And the end goal is to have so many different people from so many different industries that, you could go and want to open up a barbershop. And, I have a barbershop owner on there who tells his story. So no matter what you want to do, that's the end goal, is just building up those interviews and to eventually have so many interviews done. And I soak up so much that I can go on and write my book. And I'm in the process right now of getting my real estate license. I would like to take it to YoungCap Real Estate and just a whole bunch of different things and expand it to everything that I possibly can. But that's really how YoungCap came to be and what I do.
Yeah, I remember, how long has YoungCap been around? A year?
About a year.
Yeah, I remember when I saw YoungCap official and I was like, damn, let me look into this. And then I think your first episode was Mike Waters, right? Phase 1?
Yes.
Yeah, so I remember watching that and I was like, okay, this is quite inspirational. And, for me, obviously, I'm in the fitness industry. And so I took a lot away from that. Obviously, my goals are in to end up, having a facility like Phase 1, obviously, breeding high-class athletes. And so I remember watching that and I took a lot away from that podcast. And, and I've been keeping up like frequently with you had a YouTuber on, I forget his name.
Blake Wynn.
yeah, Blake Wynn. I remember I watched that one too, and I was like, okay, this is like inspirational because this is kind of like my realm. Like I'm into content creating and stuff like that. So I can say that I've learned a lot from those couple episodes that I've sat down and actually watched and paid attention to. And then I also knew you posted about getting your real estate license, and I was like, dang, he actually is an entrepreneur.
I'm trying, but pretty much everything you said is why I started it. I have not been in the entrepreneur game long enough to call myself a master and go out and teach it yet.
Right.
So every time that I bring somebody on new, Blake Wynn, for example, he's 20 years old, but the kid has been paying taxes since he was 11, under his mom, of course, but through his company. So he's just a true bred entrepreneur. Like I said, a YouTuber, and the different people who come on and tell their different stories, I take away from it too. So it's kind of like, other younger entrepreneurs out there who want to learn and want to, hear these stories of how they came up is fine. That's why I put it out there, is so that they can engage in it too. But it's also for me. Everybody that I meet, I'm constantly networking, constantly reaching out to as many people as I possibly can and want to hear their stories. Because at the end of the day, I think everything's going to connect at some point, from YouTube creation to knowing how to be smart with money from financial advisors to how important health and fitness is to, just everything kind of connects on an entrepreneurial level. So, it's not for everybody. It's definitely not, but I think it should be a lot bigger than the top 1%. The ultimate goal is financial freedom. And I think with our generation, you have a lot of people that, your Gary Vaynerchuk's and everybody else who's like, it's just this simple. But, you're 40 years old, you grew up in a different time. So to have
Right.
somebody else kind of be that lead factor in it, like we get their perspective, okay, but, you know, you're not 18 or you're not
Right.
in high
Yeah.
school. So it's completely different generation, but I definitely think that that top 1% um, can change into a lot bigger than just 1%. And so
Well,
that's the ultimate goal.
yeah, and I mean, just like if you look at like older entrepreneurs, for example, and I'm not saying all, but like just a lot of the ones that you see, um, they're like against social media. They're like, oh, social media is feminine, this and that. But you got to live in the modern era. Like social
Yeah.
media, you gotta like that's how you promote. Like nobody reads the newspaper no more. Nobody
Yeah.
goes and buys magazines unless it's like a collector's item. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like they're not. You got to use social media. And so like older entrepreneurs like that, they've already made their money. They don't need to, run ads. That everybody knows who they are. You know what I'm saying? And so when you're trying to get a business off the ground, like me and you, we're still trying to grow our social media presences, in order to for the ultimate goal is to promote a business of some sort.
Mhm.
And so you got to live in the present. So older advice isn't necessarily going to work. Now, don't get me wrong. There's good advice within that, but there's also some skewed advice because, like you said, it's just a different time.
Yeah. Completely different. I mean, and I had this conversation off camera with Blake Wynn when he was talking about it. Um, and he basically told me, he was like, you would be stupid not to leverage social media. He was like, I don't know a teenager out there that doesn't have some form of social media. And if you're starting a business, you really should be on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, posting every single day. I mean, he started showing shoes on YouTube. And he would go out and he ended up talking to people. And what he would do is he would just resell shoes. And eventually he's got NFL athletes coming to him wanting shoes and this, that, and the other. And he became a Chargers ambassador just from selling shoes on YouTube.
Mhm.
And I think that's the biggest thing is that whatever you're going to start, I mean, even if you're not going to be an entrepreneur, if you're really trying to um, be a social media influencer or whatever, you have to promote yourself on social media. I mean, it's just everybody's on there, and the craziest thing right now to me is TikTok because literally you could post the dumbest video and you never know that that's going to be the one that ends up with 100,000 views. The algorithms are so insane on that. I mean, I need to get more onto it, but I mean, the first one I posted, I was like, it's probably not going to go anywhere. Used one of the trending hashtags and it ended up getting like 10,000 views, which isn't crazy numbers, but I mean, still, that's 10,000 people who you're putting your content in front of. So, I mean, the social media game is just so insane today. I think that, I mean, it's pretty much what you said. You just got to live in the times and it's
Mhm.
completely different.
Yeah, and I think networking is always going to be undefeated, and I think within social media you can network so easily. Like just think about how we got this podcast set up. I just shot you a DM. I was like, hey, you want to hop on the podcast? And that's networking. And although we have a lot of past and background behind that, regardless whatever you think, that's still networking. And I think how you get even anybody on it, you got to text them in the DMs, or if you're personal enough to have their number, you got to reach out to them. And I think networking is going to get you everywhere you need to be.
Yeah,
It have you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad?
I have.
That book, dude, you learn so much from that book.
Easily. It's funny as you ask any entrepreneur what book to read, I guarantee you 9 out of the 10 are going to say Rich Dad Poor Dad. First book
Yeah.
to read.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, you said it. The networking. It doesn't matter what you're going to do. I mean, if you're going to play sports at the next level, if you're going to start your own thing, if you're going to work for somebody else, the biggest skill that I think is best to have is communication.
Mhm.
You got to be able to talk to people no matter where you go. Um, Personally, Luckily, I mean, I could go on a plane ride and talk to the person next to me and figure out something. It actually happened in Colorado. I was on the way and I saw a guy in a suit. And I was like, oh, you look professional. And just got the conversation. Turns out he was an owner of a gym in Alabama. I mean, just the communication factoring, um, and the saying, your network is your net worth. You never know what's going to come down the line of knowing people. I can't even begin to where how many of my networks from just going to Bishop Gorman has gotten me to this point. Um, Being able to network with people, and although I'm not at Gorman anymore, keeping those connections and touching in, even if it's like a, later on, hey, how are you? Just checking in on you, blah, blah, blah. Well, down the road, I may want to get my financial advisory license. And I have Timmy back here at Gorman, whose dad runs a financial advisor company. And I'm like, huh, hey, Timmy, how's it going? But I've made that connection in that network to where now I have a connection who could possibly get me to the next level in it. So your network is definitely one of the early stages um, that I've learned to build and has helped me out tremendously already. And I haven't talked to a single entrepreneur yet who has not said networking is one of the key factors in being successful at any level.
Well, yeah, and I just think that like you said, you got to be able to talk to people, and in another book for that, and the 9 out of 10 that tell you don't to not read Rich Dad Poor Dad, that one person is going to tell you to read How to Win and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's like, and that just goes back, you got to be able to, like, you got to be able to talk to people, because you never know. Like, just think about it. We were as cool as you can get in 8th grade. In 8th grade, who would have thought that we would both be running businesses right now? Like, and not only that, we're seniors now. Who would have thought? Like, who do we know now that is going to be, a multimillionaire in the future? You don't know what people are really up to, and you don't really know what the future holds. And that just shows you got to be nice to everybody, and because you never know with these, like, people can just, a switch flips and then they're like on the hustle, and then you never know, they might be bigger than you, and you have that connection, but you were a douchebag to them in high school, and they're not going to forget that. And you know what I'm saying? Like, you just gotta, I mean, you just
Absolutely.
gotta,
I mean that's how it is. I mean, and it's not for everybody. I mean, not
right.
everybody's going to go out there. It Entrepreneurship to me, and I mean, I think this kind of relates back to your audience and the fitness and health. It is mentally draining. I
Yeah.
mean, I know you've probably felt it already, but I mean, just especially at this level and the audience that I'm reaching out to, the younger entrepreneurs, a lot of people still in school, a lot of people playing sports, and then you're trying to start your own thing on top of it, trying to balance school, relationships if you got them, um, just sports, and then try to throw a company on top. It is mentally draining, and it's not for everybody.
Right.
I know I found myself going to sleep at night like, why am I doing this? Like, I don't want to get up tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean,
But
when, like, for instance, for me, I work 42 hours a week just to fund my businesses, just so I can have money to be like, okay, I can take a risk. Like, oh, you want $200 to, like, for a promotional, all right, here. And then I don't got to sweat it if I lose it. So I do that. And then I got school, because I'm trying to graduate in a few weeks. And, I'm just balancing all this stuff. And I can't even tell you how many times I've went to sleep and I'm like, you know what, bro, I'm just done. I'm done with this. Like, I'm done. Because then, at least for me, I have athletes and that are like, okay, I want you to train me. I want you to give me your fitness advice. I'm like, okay, cool. Because I'm at the point where I'm just trying to build the network. I don't even need the money. I'm not, I'll train you for nothing right now. Because, like in Rich Dad Poor Dad, you don't work for money. You work for, to learn, right? You work to get experience. And so I'm at that stage still, even though, I got a sponsorship and everything like that. And so there's athletes that are just like, train me, and I'll train them. I'll send them an 8-week program. I'll reach out to them, every 2 days. and get in touch with him. And I'm like, have you done this? Have you done this? And they're like, haven't done that, haven't done that, haven't done that. And I'm like, then what's the point here?
Yeah.
Like, it's frustrating and exhausting, especially when you start dealing with other people that don't have the competitive drive and the relentlessness that you possess.
Yeah. I mean, and that's for anybody. And, and that's why I truly do believe that it is 1% who reach that financially success level. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody is, mentally strong enough to say, you know what, I don't want to get up in the morning, but I have to.
Right.
And the biggest thing, I actually went to this class a week ago, and it was a Keller Williams class called Quantum Leap. And anybody who hasn't done that class, I'll for sure bring you next time. I mean, it's an 8-hour class, literally all day. And at first I was like, God, I got to sit through this class. But it was one of those things to where I've never liked school at all. Like, I don't look forward to going to school at all. Barely skate by. But when it comes to business and bettering myself or leadership skills, like, that's something I look forward to going to.
Right.
And so we went to the 8-hour class, and the biggest thing they talked about is accountability. And she asked everybody, she said, what do you think I mean by that? And I raised my hand, and the first thing I said was self-accountability. And she said, wrong. And I was like, what are you talking about? You have to be self-accountable. And the crazy statistic to me that I learned in that class is that you're 67% more prone to do something if somebody else is holding you accountable. And that's where the mentorship comes in, and how important it is to find a mentor. That I've learned in that class is that, it could be a friend, parent, sister, brother, whoever, writing your goals down, whatever it is you're trying to do. If it's getting straight A's in school, starting a company, you want to reach this by this, writing your goals down, showing that to somebody else, and then somebody else saying, hey, have you done this? You're 67% more likely to get it done with somebody else holding you accountable. And that's not a bad thing, having somebody else hold you accountable, because a lot of the time you think accountability, the first thing that comes to mind is self-accountability, but you're also your biggest enemy. So you may be the person holding yourself accountable, but you're also the one making the excuse up in your head as to why you're not going to do it. Right. So in order to be successful and go to the next level, that accountability factor is huge. And that's just what I learned from the class. And I mean, there were thousands of things, but that was what it was kind of centered around. And later on, we made goals. I learned about a GPS system in making goals. There's just so many different things, but you can't move on to that next level without the accountability first. If it's something simple as they have the 67-day challenge or 66-day challenge to build a habit. And it's just consistency. So they made us get a paper. We all had to find a mentor in the room, add each other on Snapchat, and take pictures of each other's goals and check in with that one person and hold them accountable so that they build a habit. And that's really the foundation of any goal that you're trying to do. You can't do it all on your own. I think that's a big mistake that a lot of people make when they're first starting out. And so, I mean, just having that other person there, that mentor, really is the foundation of everything.
Well, yeah. And I feel like, there's a saying where you got to have somebody above you to keep you. So you call them and you're like, I just did, for instance, I just did 500K on my, e-commerce business. And they're like, well, I just did 1 million. You got to have that person that makes you feel like you're not doing anything in your life so you can keep going. And that's finding the mentor, but also who helps you. But at the same time, you also have to have that person below you to, that will call you and like, I did 250K and you're like, I did 500. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta be the mentor while having a mentor in order to get like leveraged out. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I mean, a mentor can be anybody. I mean, like you said, you got to have that person above and that person below, person on the same level as you. You may have sold $500,000 in e-commerce and your buddy next to you did. But then that also trickles into, back into the network, which is the second most important thing, is that it really is true. You are the average of the 5 people you hang around most.
Oh yeah.
And if you're, personally don't want to be, but if I want to go be the top barber in the country, in the state. I need to find somebody better than me at cutting hair and go and shadow them for a few months, work in the same shop as them. Um, Realtor. I mean, I'm just about to start out, but I'm going to start out with a firm that, because I networked with one of the little brothers of the owner, they have a huge reputation. They sell $1 million houses in some of the richest parts of Las Vegas. And that's where I'm starting out, is going and finding him and having him mentor me through it. And I'm meeting with him next week. I mean, if you want to be successful in any industry, find somebody in the top and go shadow them, work for free. Be around that person and build a relationship with that person, because one, you never know when it's going to come in handy. And two, you're only going to be more like that person. Whereas if you're hanging out with somebody who's going out to party every weekend, there's times for it and there's times not for it. But if your group is 5 people who party every weekend, you're never going to balance out being able to go and reach that goal. So, I mean, it all ties back into networking, but making sure that you're doing the right networking with the right people.
Wait, yeah, and that's a saying that's always been around. You are who you surround yourself with. I mean, I don't know about you, but my parents have told me that since I was very, very young.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and that's just something that has always stuck with me, is I'm not gonna surround myself around people that don't have goals and ambitions, because I personally have goals and ambitions. I want to grow. Like, this isn't the only thing I want to do. Like, I want to start an e-commerce business, and I want to spread myself, not necessarily thin, but I want to diversify my portfolio, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And on that topic though, have you considered e-commerce?
I haven't. It's something that um, I know a lot of people have been successful in, and it's definitely uh, something I want to look into. Right now, I got so much going on with the real estate, which is hard enough.
Mhm.
But no, it's definitely something I'm going to look into. I mean, like I said, YoungCap is a brand, and so if I can branch it out into YoungCap real estate, YoungCap e-commerce, YoungCap financial, I'm gonna branch it off into whatever I can. So it's definitely going to be something I look into. I just haven't personally done it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I do the 30, 60, 90. So I do 30 days, just not doing anything. I just research it, become, not necessarily an expert, but become educated on the topic enough to, answer questions if people ask me, like, what about this? What about this? Just be really educated on the topic. And then I give myself 60 days to execute the topic. So like my podcast, for example, I have 60 days to upload and work through it, whether I hate it, whether I love it. 60 days, and then if after 90 days I hate it, then cut the ties, move on to something else. And so I'm in the 30-day period where I'm still researching e-commerce. I don't know what I want to do, because there's multiple ways you can do it. I
Mhm.
mean, you could do it through the Chinese websites, and get buy for cheap, sell for high. You could do that. But at the same time, I know people that just go to like Ross or TJ Maxx and get like, really cheap, products that are like $12. The face value sell on Amazon or on,
Yeah.
on their Shopify store for like $50.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of ways you can do it. I just don't know which way I want to do it. And so that's really the only reason why I haven't yet. And I'm just trying to learn and know all the ins and outs of it. I
Yeah.
mean, as much as you can in 30 days. You're not going to become an expert at something in 30 days. It takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. So, yeah,
Yep.
I mean, I've definitely considered it, but I just,
Yeah. And it's crazy because there's so many ways out there to be a millionaire. I think everybody's prime thing when you think about what does success mean to you, I think the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people is $1 million, which in theory is not a lot of money when you think about it. You can blow through $1 million really quick. Give somebody $1 million in a day and watch them blow through it. But to reach, I mean, you can really do it in any industry. It's all about how you approach it. E-commerce, like you said, there's so many different ways to go about it. Um, just when I was back in looking at stocks when the pandemic first started
Mm-hmm.
and everything was low. I was like, well, might as well. And I didn't research it at all. I just jumped in. I was like, you know what? It's low. He told me to do this. I'm jumping in.
Right.
But even when I did start researching and learning all the different strategies people use, I was like, they're millionaires off of this, and people will sell their help. I mean, that's a big thing, is selling their help for cryptos and stuff that I have no idea about, but maybe that's for somebody else who wants to go and learn about that. And now they can go sell their expertise to me down the road. But I mean, there's just so many different ways to approach any industry you go into. But regardless, a lot of it follows the same principles no matter what you do. You got to have your network. You got to be able to communicate. And like I said, it's that 10,000 hours. It takes 10,000 hours to master something. And not everybody can make it those 10,000 hours.
Exactly.
And so, yeah.
Are you into investing in like NFTs or there's like these, like those graphic pictures and stuff. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you into that?
I've I follow a few people who are like huge on the NFTs, so I kind of like sideline watch a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out what the hell it is. I haven't like gone in depth, and that's one of the other things that I just haven't really jumped into to master yet. Um, but no, I've definitely seen like a lot. It was more so when I was looking at the stock market and I was following Gary Vee for a while, and I would go and watch some of his videos. And he started dropping NFTs, and I was like, oh, okay, well maybe. And then I started going on Instagram and seeing people posting these different cartoon character looking things, and I was like, dude, what are these? And underneath it's saying, oh, these are NFTs. So and then people, I think it was Tory Lanez who just sold like a crazy amount in like an hour. And I was just like, these NFTs, I mean, there's just so many things coming out that are making money. It's crazy. The crypto, the NFTs, the stock. I think the stock market is like one of those things that's just never going to change. I mean, it's always fluctuating in price, but reliability wise, I would put my money into that. Whereas, cryptos and NFTs, it's one of those things where, okay, it's popular now, but I feel like it can go away just as quick.
Right.
Crypto is already having a ton of issues. And just but the volatility, I mean, the same thing. Somebody who invests early in Dogecoin for whatever reason made millionaires out of people. Like it's insane on the things you can do. It's just, I think a lot of people wait. And the reason that I started YoungCap was a lot of people feel like they're too young to start their own thing or jump into it, or they'll find an excuse of, I'm not going to do it because I'm too young. Nobody's going to take me seriously. Well, nobody's going to take you seriously. How do you know unless you try?
Right.
Because YoungCap, when I first started, I needed to get an interview, and obviously I have a website with no interviews on it. I have my description on there. On the first interview, I was kind of like, where do I start? I ended up doing my godfather, a financial advisor, using a connection that I had. And then I was like, well, you know what? I worked out at a gym and played for Mike Waters. Let me go talk to Mike. And Mike was happy to do it. And he was like, you know what, Dom, you've been my guy. I'll do it. So I was like, okay, cool. And then I was like, well, now I have 2 interviews up here. What if I, reach it? Now that I have something to show, I'll reach out. And that's how I got Blake Wynn. I didn't know Blake by any means. I literally went on Google and typed in young entrepreneurs. He's got a Las Vegas Entrepreneurs magazine for being one of the entrepreneurs of the year. Sent a DM to, literally looked his name up on Instagram, sent him a DM, found his email, sent him an email. He got back to me. Yeah, I'm cool next week. Let's do it. So, it's all about, you have to start somewhere. A lot of people, it's making that jump. And so with YoungCap, hopefully it encourages people to take that jump. And it's really to show you that it is possible,
Mm-hmm.
that, millions of dollars aren't for the retired only. I don't know who wouldn't want to be a young millionaire. I would rather live my life when I'm young. I would rather put in the work now so that in my 20s I can retire and just, make it passive income. Probably won't happen. I'll probably still be working. I mean, the work never stops. That's the entrepreneur's thing, though, is work never stops. But I mean, yeah, there's just so many. It doesn't matter what industry you go into. It's being able to master, you know, like if it's NFTs, I'm not gonna master it. Somebody else can go master it and make $1 million. So I mean, it's just the getting started part. And but yeah, personally, coming back to it, have not looked into NFTs.
Yeah, well, you said who wouldn't want to be a millionaire, and that actually resonates a lot with me because I'm sure just like every other, entrepreneur or just person who wants to grow, you'd follow the Wolf of Wall Street, I assume.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and you know how his biggest saying is, you know, being rich is tough. It's extremely hard, but being poor is a passport to fucking misery.
And that's how it is. I mean, nothing comes easy. It's I say it all the time. I don't know where I heard it, and somebody was like, they were like, "Oh, money isn't everything." Like, oh, it was no. Somebody told me, they were like, "Dominic, money can't buy you happiness," and I was like, "Yeah, well, I'd rather cry in a Lamborghini than a Honda
Right.
Civic,"
Yeah.
and that's all it is. I mean, it's you can. I think it really depends on who you are. I can't say that overall money doesn't buy happiness. Physically, no, but it all depends on what makes you happy. You can't tell somebody else kind of what makes you happy. Maybe that possession does make them happy. Maybe they wanted that Lamborghini since they were 10 years old and now they got it and they are happy because of the money that you can't do that poor. And so I that's an argumentative saying. When people say money can't buy happiness, for me, it automatically clicks my brain and I'm like, well, I'll argue it for days. But um no, I mean, it's exactly what he says. I mean, money is a necessity to life. And there's two lives that you can choose. You can choose one of financial freedom, live where you want. I'm not saying you have to live in a mansion. You can live in North Las Vegas in an apartment, be a millionaire, and go out with your family, spend it on your family, spend your money how you want to. But you can't help, and that was the other thing that I learned in Quantum Leap. You can't feed somebody else before you feed yourself. You have to have money for yourself. You have to have health for yourself. You have to be fit yourself before you can go out there and try and help somebody else. I have to be successful and have an understanding of the young entrepreneur mindset before I can go out there and try and teach other young entrepreneurs. So right now I bring other people on there to teach young entrepreneurs, to teach me, so that in the future I can go and keep the same concept, but now I can teach it to other young entrepreneurs how to adapt to their modern era. Because who knows what's down the line? We're about to have virtual reality and everything else. I don't know what the hell by then. But to be able to teach that later on down the road, I have to absorb that first. And so, I mean, it's the same concept with money. You can't go out and look at an issue, or go donate if you want to without money. I mean, you got to have something yourself before you can give it to somebody else.
Yeah, and just because you wear a suit and tie, that also doesn't mean anything. There's multiple millionaires that dress just. Look at Adam Sandler, for example. Wealthy dude. He wears a collared shirt from Walmart and some baggy ass pants.
Yep.
Like, and that just shows that, money solves a lot of problems. Like,
Yep.
He can do whatever he wants, and that's how he chooses to live. And, but, I just can't stress it enough that, money is, Floyd Mayweather says it, they can't eat legacy. Your kids cannot eat legacy. They eat off the currency. You know what I'm saying? You got to have money in order to do fun things, in order to do anything. You're not gonna, you can't stress it enough. If you don't have money, how are you gonna eat? How are you gonna get to work?
Exactly.
Like, where are you gonna live? Like,
yep. It's like you
money
said with
solves.
Adam Sandler. It's like you said with Adam Sandler. Dude can wear a Walmart t-shirt. He's got millions of dollars, but he's financially free enough to wear whatever he wants and be perfectly cool with it.
Right.
But he's got enough money to where if he wants to buy that Louis Vuitton suit, he can go buy that Louis Vuitton suit.
Oh yeah.
He chooses not to, but he's financially free. And if he's happy wearing his Walmart t-shirts, He's happy wearing his Walmart t-shirts. Now, and that's not to say to have zero money and, only be able to buy Walmart t-shirts. I can't see that being a life goal for somebody in school to say, I can't wait for when I'm older to have just enough money to go buy Walmart t-shirts.
Exactly.
Now, personally, I would not be comfortable with that. And but it's having the freedom, and that's the ultimate goal, is to create and help people become financially free so that if they want to go donate to charity, they can donate to charity. If they want to go help out their family, they can go help out their family. I know my promise to my mom back when she thought I was going, or when I was taking the football route and she wanted me to go to the NFL. And I always was like, you know what, mom, it's been the same thing for years. She wants a white Range Rover. And I was like, I'm gonna buy you that white Range Rover. And then I quit football 2 years ago, and it was, nope, I'm still gonna get you that white Range Rover. It's just not gonna be from football. So, and that leads into, I think, the next point, which is the drive. Everybody, I had this talk in my past interview with James Bischoff, a financial advisor, and we were talking about it, and it's everybody having something that gets them going. For me, it's, wanting to buy my mom that Range Rover, wanting to buy my dad that Raptor. There's different things that drive me to want to keep going with it.
Right.
And it's more so not myself. And oftentimes it's not something about yourself that drives a person. It's something that makes it, like him. He had a wife and 3 kids, and he was trying to start a business, but he had to have something to support his wife and kids. His wife and kids were his drive to go get his company started, and he went out and did it because he put his back up against the wall. He said, I have to provide for my family, and that's just how it is. For me, I throw my own back up against the wall, and it's, I have to get my mom this Range Rover. I told her I was going to. I have to. That's my drive. That's my want. And I'm the biggest mama's boy ever. I don't want my mom to have any bills. That's my ultimate goal.
Yeah.
But everybody has that drive, and it's the motto for YoungCap is passion to purpose to profit. It's finding your passion, finding your purpose, collecting the profit. Because once you have that passion and that purpose, there's no stopping you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, just look at, again, another person, Chad Ochocinco. Dude still drives a smart car. Like,
Yeah.
and he was driven all the way through. He slept on the team couch. There are so many different things. He made so many sacrifices, and now he's financially free. And although he did do it through athletics, which, if you can get there, is an extreme, basically you're asking to be a millionaire if you can, put in all the hard work. But let's not get it twisted. Being a professional athlete is extremely hard for anybody. Yeah. But I mean, just he was driven, and I feel like athletes are some of the most driven people. Obviously, the ones that want to be there and want to do better. And I think, yeah, I agree. I think it's extremely important to be driven and have a goal. I mean, my goal, I have multiple goals. I obviously want to provide for my future family. Like that's my goal that keeps me going. My future wife, whoever it is, I don't want her to have to work if she don't want to. If you want to stay at home and watch the kids, cool, do that.
Yeah.
And then I also have told, same thing with you and your mom. I've told my dad I'll buy him a Corvette whenever, a Stingray Corvette, brand new off the lot. And I told my mom I'll buy her a huge house, and so there's just, you got these promises, and then, but at the same time, you got to promise yourself a few things. So my promise to myself is I'm gonna get that Rolls Royce, boy.
Oh yeah.
That's the goal here. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And then you get the driver to come with it, because nobody drives their own Rolls.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, that's all it is. I mean, the passion, the purpose, and I think purpose can mean 2 different things. And that's why I have passion to purpose to profit, and it's going to go on the back of the t-shirts and hoodies and stuff when I start to come out with that, is because you find your passion, you move forward with it, you find your purpose, but your purpose could be your why are you doing it? There could be a purposeful meaning to it. And then it could be your purpose in life, like that
Mhm.
aha moment of, oh, this is my purpose. This is where my passion is. I'm talented here. This is what I'm meant to do. So, I mean, it's got multiple meanings to it, but at the end of the day, passion leads to purpose, purpose, and those two things lead to profit.
Mhm.
Because no matter what you have or what you go into, uh, I don't care if you were, you know, going to be a professional dog walker the rest of your life in every neighborhood. If you've got passion for dog walking and you find your purpose as to why, you may be the best dog walker in the country. But you're always going to reach a level of success, or you're going to reach the top when you find that passion in that purpose and then you pursue it. I think that's the last P, and it actually just came to my head in this interview, which I will be throwing on the t-shirt, is the act of pursuing it.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, how diverse are you in marketing?
What was that?
How diverse are you in marketing?
Um, Definitely, and that's one of the big things that I'm actually focusing on right now.
Mhm.
Because now I've gotten to 6 episodes out, and I've got a long road ahead on the road to 150. That was a goal. But now that I have those out, I mean, they're up on the website, and stuff like that. Now that that stuff is taken care of and the foundation of it is kind of built, now I'm focusing more so on how do I get this to the audience that I'm looking for. And so, a big thing that I looked into was Instagram Reels, which I would break up some of the videos that I would do,
Right.
and it'll be a 2 minute long reel. And with the right hashtags, I mean, the first one that I posted, I've got 1,200 followers, but my Instagram reel had 10,500 plays and it reached 10,000 accounts. So I was like, okay. So, and I mean, it's all about, researching and stuff like that. And one of the things I'm going to get going is the Twitter. And one of the other things that I haven't been really effective on that I should have, number one, was TikTok, breaking up clips of the video, putting it on TikTok. That's another big thing, that a lot of people, do. I mean, just as I'm researching throughout, I'll go through, YouTube. I don't know why anybody would not use YouTube. It's literally the biggest help ever created. There is a video for everything. If you how to. Um, but yeah, I mean, going on there, you can simply find different algorithms, and that's where I found Instagram Reels, and I was like, you know what, I'll try it. Hit 10,000 accounts. So I was like, okay, obviously something's working. And so that's all I'm doing right now is, kind of figuring out my marketing things. And one of the biggest mistakes that I've made so far was, and it was kind of going back to, updating with the times, as I was like, oh, you know what, I'll get business cards. And I ordered business cards. And then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I don't know one person who I'm ever going to use a business card with. Like, I'm not going to go advertise with a business card. I mean,
Right.
unless I'm meeting somebody or I'm going on a road trip, I like to have them, because if I meet somebody like on the plane, I gave that dude my business card because I just had him on. And I was like, well, I'm obviously not going to interview you right now, but if you get a free minute, here's this with my info. But even still, that guy's probably got social media. I could have just as easily been, hey, what's your Instagram?
Right.
And something like that. But being I want to focus on being smart with the marketing, whereas instead of putting money into business cards, I could have put it into, Facebook ads or stuff like that, stuff that I know people are watching. And that's the biggest thing, is putting it in front of eyes, as many eyes as I can possibly put it in front of, because you never know where your tribe is going to come from. And that's another really good book that was the second book that I read was Tribes by Seth Godin. And he really talks about, you're not going to have everybody. Like, I mean, you can follow. I love to use the Nelk Boys, because the Nelk Boys, they literally record their life partying, and they ended up with millions of people. Target audience is college. The amount of people, and they became the face of party life, high school, college, everything. Full send became the motto. I mean, I don't know how many, just send it, just send it. And Nelk Boys marketed that perfectly. I mean, they couldn't have attacked a better audience. And so that's really what it's about, no matter what you're doing. For me, I need that tribe of young entrepreneurs, that tribe of people wanting to start something, and just don't know where to. So they're out there definitely along the country. There's always those people out there. It's just finding those people. So right now I market mainly in Vegas. And then over a lot of the breaks, I'm taking some trips down to Cali to put it out there. Start to get YoungCap flowing a little bit. I got family in Florida, family in Colorado. And it's just putting it out there. And I'm going to make a few trips down there to get, talk to people, network. But marketing wise, that's definitely personally what I'm working on, is just, putting it in front of enough eyes to find that, because for every 100 people, there may be one, but that's one more person added to the tribe, one more follower, one more subscriber. So if I know it's going to be that 100 and I'm gonna get that one, okay, well now I need to reach out to 10,000 people. So, it's constantly putting it out there, and it may be I need to reach out to 10,000 people, but now I've researched how to make a reel and it's getting to 10,000 people.
Right.
And so marketing is insane, but it's all about, research and finding out how to get it in front of as many eyes as possible at the end of the day, because you never know who's going to be a part of that tribe until you know.
Yeah. So it's interesting you said business cards, because I was in the process of ordering business cards too. But then I might put you onto something. So do you know what a dot is? Like,
Oh, I do. Those cards where you just tap, and I thought about that. And it's funny because Blake Wynn talked to me about it. And he just got them for his company. And I think he got I forget what they're called. It's the one with the wristband. And you just tap your phone on the wristband and all your info comes up.
right.
And it's funny you say that too, because I mean, this whole interview, I think we've talked about keeping up with the times. Nobody's going to read that newspaper when I can literally tap my phone on your wrist or tap my card on your phone and all your info pops up.
Yeah, I have the one where it's in the back of my case. It's literally just a circle. And then you just, tap it, and then all my preview of my videos come up. So obviously it updates each week. So our podcast right now will be on when it premieres tomorrow, it'll be up there. And then it has my fitness Instagram, my normal Instagram, my Twitter, my TikTok, my website, everything. And then it has my picture and everything. And, it was $15. And I was like, okay, that's a lot cheaper than, ordering, 100 business cards and, stuff like that. So I actually have found that has really helped me. And just yesterday or a few days ago at work, when I made the posters, a great marketing tool was I just went around, hey, which poster do you think's better? And I can't tell you how many people were like, oh, podcast, what? And I was like, yeah, here you go, here's the information. And so it goes back to just building that network.
Yeah. And I mean, even with that dot, the dot circle, I mean, just working smarter and not harder. I mean, it's really, I think, a lot of mistakes too, that, I mean, just talking to other successful entrepreneurs, not just going off of what I'm saying, but a lot of them have said a lot of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make is the idea that to be an entrepreneur, you overwork yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's hard. Yes, you have to work, but you also got to think smarter. As an entrepreneur, you're always finding ways to, make the most of you can with as little as possible. If I can save money rather than ordering these business cards, but I'm going to reach a ton more people with and updated with the times, social media stuff with all my information, instead of having to fit it in fine print, trying to squint, trying to read this card, then that's what I'm going to do. I mean, that's definitely something I'm going to look into for sure. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, and the initial reason why I asked you if you're big into marketing is because I've already done my 30 days in researching marketing. I read 3 books. So and right now I'm in the middle of creating funnels and stuff like that. There's actually a book I have right here. If you haven't read it, I recommend it. Sell Like Crazy. This guy has generated over, I think, a few $1 billion in revenue over multiple different companies. I read it. There's a lot of great information in there. Recommend it. I actually got it. So it was crazy because he talks about, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. I was, he actually talks about creating, everybody has a credit card. This is what he says. He's like, everybody has a credit card. You'd be almost insane not to go run YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all those ads and try to, why would you not want to do that?
Yeah.
Everybody has a credit card. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so that's what he was saying. And that's where it really clicked with me. And that's why I started this week. I was like, you know what? It just hit me. Why am I not making posters? Why am I not giving a teaser and to begin with? Because now, like, and this is what I said, like when I was marketing face to face, and I was asking like, which poster do you think is better? They would be like, okay, and I would like make sure to tell him like, this guy's a business owner. Like he like is a business owner here. You know, he's a young business owner, and they were like, oh, interesting. And you know, now they're thinking, and it just goes back to people working with people, because then that builds the anticipation, and then they're gonna go watch your hour and a half interview.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, I like your slogan, from passion to purpose to profit. Right? That's what it is. Yeah. Okay. I thought I got it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. And when I learned early on in my journey, my slogan is making healthy living simple. And once you read that, once you put it on the back of a shirt, that's going to catch somebody's attention. Because think about it. I'm going to use my example. How many times have people looked up how to get abs in a week? How to get fit fast?
I've done it.
I've done it. I can't even tell you. When I was in 7th grade,
Oh yeah.
I was working off that baby fat. How to get abs? How to get abs? You know what I'm saying? And so then or even just a single mom who's like, you know, I just had a baby. I want to get off this fat. How to lose weight fast. And then she sees my slogan, making it simple. Oh, so now I can make it fast and simple. I want to know more about it. And so, and I like yours as well, especially in your niche of business. Find your passion, then your purpose, and that'll make you some profit. That sparks me. I'm like, okay, I'm passionate about the human body. My purpose is to work in the medical field. I know that. I'm going to be a surgeon. I know I'm going to. Okay, so now I just got to take all that and start now, and then I'll make some profit. It's
Exactly.
simple. And, you know, and for everyone who watched this, I guarantee, whether you're 30 trying to start your own side hustle because you hate working 9 to 5 making somebody else rich, or whether you're 12 and you have aspirations of doing whatever, I think that sticks with them.
And that's the other thing. I mean, for whoever's watching, you know, whether you're 30, you're 19, you're 21, I'm 18. So a lot of the times people will look at me and they're like, well, why the hell do I need to listen to him?
Right.
What could he possibly know that I don't? I'm not out here preaching from my own experience. I mean, every interview that I have, I take away something from it. And that's why I do. So most of the stuff that I put out is stuff that I learned from somebody else. Now you don't have to take my advice, but you know, I just learned it from multi-millionaires who live in the richest parts of Las Vegas. So,
Uh-huh.
you know, I'm going to take that advice and go do it. Whether you do is up to you. But I mean, that's one of the other things where it's like a lot of people second guess them not to listen to people like that.
Oh, absolutely. AWOL, nuts. Like, and just think about it. When even in youth football, what did your coach say? Your coach said, go home and watch people in the NFL do what you do. Learn from them. Why wouldn't you want to have a goal? Why wouldn't you take advice from someone who's been there, done that?
Yep.
That it makes no sense.
Not at all. And that's, I mean, and granted, the principles of it. I mean, you don't have to take it from me. I'm not, And that's what I think the biggest misconception is with YoungCap is I think a lot of people come on thinking that they're listening to me and I'm going on this, that, and the other. I'm just asking the questions here. Everything
Right.
is coming from these successful entrepreneurs that, I mean, they're teaching me, I'm taking from it, but it's for everybody else too. Because whether or not people watch it till the full end, I'm in the interview to the end, so I'm going to learn regardless.
Right.
So I really put it out there for other people, and that's the hope and that's the goal for it, is to be able to change, like I said, that 1%, and hopefully with this next generation, create that. And because I hate the saying the top 1%. I mean, in reality, that's what it is, because it's not for everybody. But I mean, there's no reason why it can't be more than 1%. And especially with our generation, I feel like with technology increasing, there's always a new invention, a new business. Somebody is bettering somebody else's previous work. And the people who are already in the top 1% right now aren't going to be around forever. And that's why I interview higher ups of companies and business owners, because you may not go and start a business, but you may be the next manager of the Apple store out here. And that may lead you up into something else. You may start at a Tesla dealership, but you may end up the manager of these people aren't going to be around forever. And especially with our generation upcoming, really, really important, because somebody's going to have to run all this when Elon Musk is gone, when
Right.
Jeff Bezos is gone, when
Right.
their kids are gone. Somebody's going to have to take over, and that's the goal of YoungCap, is to put them in a position to where they are ready to take over.
Yeah, and I mean, it just goes back to living in modern times, Um,
Yep.
and it goes back to starting even when you think you shouldn't. Like, have you seen the picture of Jeff Bezos with the white sheet with Sharpie Amazon and then his computer that's like extremely whack? Have you seen that? I mean, that just goes to show you start whenever, and grow, learn from your mistakes. Nobody's gonna Their first video is not gonna be perfect. And I don't know about you, but I'm the biggest critique. When I uploaded my first podcast, I was a lot like you. I interviewed somebody cool, obviously a pilot who's flown, a lot of the Golden State Warriors and stuff like that. So like a cool guest, but he's my uncle. So like I was comfortable with him. But even then, I'm my biggest critic. So I watched when I was editing, cutting up clips to upload to YouTube, TikTok, getting it in front of people. It just goes back to that, give them that little clip so they want to watch more kind of thing. I was like, oh my, I've this is awful. This is awful.
It's
And
so funny that that's the first one, because the first one that I did, I mean, I was identical. The first one I did was with my godfather, and the interview was almost awkward because I knew I was talking to somebody I knew. So it was like I can't even be in like my podcast character right now, because you know me how I normally am. And so as we were doing it, but I mean, going back and watching through it, it's critiquing that, even so that the next person that I interview, Mike Waters, I know too, but Mike Waters isn't family. So the next time I go, and what I realized is the first interview that I did, I mean, people can go back and watch it and make fun of me, because after every question I asked, once they answered, every time, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I was like, I sound robotic. And so we sat down and we broke down the video, me and him, and he was like, okay, so let's add other words in there. And he said it should be more of a conversation rather than, a forced interview almost for you when you're talking to that person. So I went on an interview, and it got better. But I mean, I'm on episode 6 now, and now it's like, I don't even need my question sheet there anymore. I know my questions that I ask, and I turned it more into dialogue rather than trying to just read from this page and robotically, did I make sure I asked that? Did I make sure I asked that? It's going from, one answer to, and it's funny you say that, because back to when you touched on, and just different transitions and working on different things. But I mean, I think that's with anything that anybody starts. I mean, you have to start somewhere and go somewhere. And, everybody pays their dues. I mean, I wish I could, take over my godfather's financial advisory company tomorrow and go be a millionaire like him. But I mean, he started it from nothing as well. Where I kind of left off before he got cut off was the motto: "Stay hungry, stay humble." Is what my dad always told me. I'm literally getting it tattooed on my rib cage because that's just the one thing that since I played Little League baseball to football to in business and companies, it's, you know, always be a genuine person, be humble, be kind to others, and stay true to your character. And then the second part, stay hungry, is that, you know, nothing's going to come to you on a silver platter. You're going to have to go get it. At some point, you're going to have to put in work. And, you know, in high school right now, it'd be really easy to sit back when I have no bills. I don't have a cell phone bill. I don't pay my car payment. I have a house to live in that, you know, he worked for, but, you know, it's not my house. I don't pay the bills in here. So at some point I got to go. But it's to stay humble, stay hungry. And he's always taught that day is going to come where, you know, he worked his ass off. And so, you know, he's not going to take care of a grown man. I got to go do my own thing. And so that's one of the things that's always stuck with me, is that stay humble, stay hungry. And, you know, I think that's really for anybody. It's staying true to your character and understanding that you have to go make something out of yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I really, it makes me feel good about myself that you had the same problem I did, because after everything, I would ask him, what's it like being a pilot? You know, what's the schooling like? Blah, blah, blah. And then he would say it, and then I'd be like, yeah, so.
It's everybody starts somewhere. I mean, it's honestly funny to go back and watch it now, because I literally go back and I'm like, I really said absolutely after there wasn't one time I didn't say absolutely. So what was, there was no context on it. I went right into the next question. And he was just, I mean, he's the one who actually invested in my company. So it was more so like he knew it was a learning process too. But I mean, when we went back and watched it, I was like, geez. But now I compare that to my last episode and I'm like, wow, I like genuinely had a conversation with this guy. And, you know, when you're having a conversation with somebody versus, you know, being robotic and just asking them straightforward, you can genuinely pull out a lot more from the conversation from them. Like, you know, you dig deeper into the question because of something they said. And when you're really listening, and I think that was the biggest thing, is that I was always like, yeah, absolutely. But I'm not even sure I was listening to what he just said. I was just like so nervous on it. I was just like, absolutely. So, but when you listen to what they say, and there may be something that they say in there that brings up another question that you dig deeper on. Like I could be talking to a realtor who says some realtor terms, and I'm like, you know, and I may not know it. So I'm like, you know, can we break that down further? Actually, like, what is that? And so when you have a conversation with, and I think, you know, that's why communication is so important. I mean, obviously for what me and you do, clearly that's all we do is communicate and talk to people. But really for anybody, communication is such a huge factor in any workplace, anywhere you go. And that's the biggest thing to me that I think people really need to dig deep into and learn how to talk to people.
Yeah. And I think communication just goes back to networking. I feel like what we do, communicating with people, also helps us with our networking skills, because now we're talking to people regularly. We're talking to people. And now when we go out and talk to someone with off camera, that's like cake, because having a camera on you, that's some pressure. And, you know, obviously I'm in episode 3, you're in episode 6. So we're starting to get a little more comfortable with it. But, you know, episode 1, there was so much pressure. I was like, and I'm not one to crack under pressure, but I was like, ooh, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it a little bit here. And it was somebody I knew, you know, like I knew. And and that was also, it kind of felt forced as well, because like I already knew all the answers to my questions. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, which I'm glad we were in the same boat, episode 1, and we can relate on that, because I kind of thought I was the only one there for a minute.
There's going to be a funny Dom and Sutton montage of the first interview to go back and watch.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna roll that at the
I'm
end of
gonna
this.
I'm gonna count the amount of times I said absolutely. That'd be funny. But no, I mean, I think for everybody on here watching, I mean, if there's anything that they do take away from it, I mean, we just went over, I don't know how many different things. But, communication, your network is your net worth. Surround yourself with good people, accountability. Don't be afraid to bring others into your goals. Write your goals down. That's important. Do
That's
not
so
leave it in your
huge.
head.
It's so
You will
huge.
not do it. Um, and yeah, I think ultimately, and we had this conversation as to young entrepreneurs, but the entrepreneur foundation really is the foundation of life, no matter what you go
I
into.
agree.
You
Yeah.
don't have to be an entrepreneur to have goals. It's people have goals to be a brain surgeon. People have goals to be doctors. But they all follow the same foundation. You still have to have that passion. You still have to have that purpose, and you're still at some point going to collect that profit, because I don't know why you wouldn't want to be the top in whatever it is you want to be.
Right.
And so just being able to strive for that. So I would say, I mean, there was so much to take away from this interview, but
Mhm.
um, yeah.
And even this, the best part about this is I'm sure we're gonna connect again. And when we're further down the line, whether that be 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, you never know. And I just have a feeling we're gonna look back at this when we're like so far
100%.
advanced, and then we're gonna be laughing at this like we were laughing at our first podcast.
Oh yeah.
And that's like the best part, especially for me, is like I want to be able to I want to continue to grow so I can laugh. Like right now, I'm pretty confident. I like this. Our goal for this podcast was 2,000 views, and so I like that goal. I'm pretty confident I'll hit that goal. But this is actually quite funny to me because that goal is going to be so small to me here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I've actually learned a lot from this pod too, because I've taken I clip my stuff and I post like here and there, but I don't do it consistently. And for all algorithms, you need to do it consistently. And so my TikTok has done pretty good. And it just a testament to just how good TikTok is. I posted July 10th when Conor McGregor fought. I posted my picks, 10,000, 8,000, 7,000 views. And I know for like some people that's not a lot, but for somebody trying to get a business off the ground,
Oh
looking
yeah.
at that, that's like, okay, that's like you said, knock on 10,000 doors, you're going to get one.
Yep.
And shooters keep shooting. So,
Yep. You can
I
knock
mean,
on 10,000 doors and only get one, but that's one person to your tribe, and now you know how long it takes. You better go knock on 10,000 more doors.
well, yeah. And the best
So,
part about it is that one person, you amaze them, you give them good content, you treat them well, they're going to go tell their mom, their best friend, who's going to
they'll be
tell
your biggest
somebody,
supporter.
and it just keeps cycling forever and ever and ever. And that's how you grow. It's not because I know 10,000 people, it's because I know 10 people, they know 10 people, they know 10 people, and it just keeps going and going and going. And then by the time you know it, you have 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million, so on and so forth.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I feel like we covered a lot here.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I learned a lot. Hopefully you were able to walk away with something
Oh,
from what
I
I've
walked
learned
away
from
with
my
so much
interviews.
because
But I'll definitely be in touch, when I need
Mhm,
to, when I'm jumping into the TikTok games. And
mhm.
anybody else out there too. I mean, anybody who needs help with anything, I highly recommend, whatever you're going into, going and watching, even if it's one of these interviews from these entrepreneurs off of the YoungCap interviews. I mean, just the stories that you hear. Definitely looking forward to having you on there. One of the things that I'm going to be doing is, because I'm targeting young entrepreneurs, I'm going to kind of do a before and after. I'm going to interview them and find out, where they're at. And and the goal is, you know, a year from now when I've made it a year, I can have you back on there and be like, so something the last time, and then, you know, pull it up, the numbers, and have a side by side. So, you know, that's just one of the things that I'm working on. So I'll definitely have you on there. And, you know, for anybody else, like I said, I highly recommend going and watching one of these videos. Not to see my pretty face. No, I'm just like, but to go and take the education from these entrepreneurs. It's like, you know, having a recipe in front of you and going and trying to hand make it with guessing game. And so why wouldn't you read the recipe? And so you can go find those interviews, www.youngcap.net. Follow me on Instagram and reach out. Be happy to help anybody out in any way that I can and share some more of that information with you. The Instagram is at official YoungCap, YoungCap. And I had an absolute blast on this interview, Sutton. So thank you for having me on. And we'll definitely be connecting in the future.
Oh, for sure. And I will put all your stuff in the description, so it'll be easy access. And if you need anything entrepreneurship, make sure to go hit him up. And it's only going to grow in the future. So, you know, even if you don't need him now, you might need him in the future and like we said, we don't interview people for our life experiences. It's not to talk about ourselves. It's to get people that have been there, done that, whether it's a pilot and an athletic trainer for me, or a YouTuber, owner of a gym, you know, so many other different things, financial advisory, whatever. That's another thing, making it simple. And in my description, if you read it, it says, you know, I'm making it simple, whether that's increasing your neuroplasticity and helping you grow. You can't tell me that just learning something, whether that's how to promote something, even if you're not going to use it, that's something smart. Because now if somebody, you know, your 10-year-old kid wants to, like, I want to promote, you know, my lemonade stand. You're like, okay, well, I picked this up in an interview that I watched, so here's this. It's not even that you have to use it hands-on. It's just to have that memory and to learn something, and that it might come in handy in the future. And so if you need anything entrepreneurship or capitalist, reach out to my guy, link in the descriptions. Obviously anything health related, I got you. That being said, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Don, for coming on. I'd love to be on yours. So
it'll happen.
And we'll obviously stay in touch.
Absolutely.
The great friendship, great relationship, been around for a while. So, and I would love to have you on again. You know,
absolutely. That means smash that like button, hit that subscribe, let him know we got to run it back.
Oh yeah. And 1,000 subscribers, when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a supplement giveaway. See you guys later.